Someone said, as a person gets older, the passage of many years doesn't really seem that long ago. Well, as an old man myself, I guess I can say that's true. As you see, now, I'm sitting here peacefully, enjoying the sun where the skies are calm. But lately, I've been thinking about how everything just seems so fast. As we get older, none of us would have ever thought that the lives that we were living in would become just a memory that can only be remembered in our minds. Although some of it still feels like yesterday, especially the memories from that place. Kowloon Walled City. The city of darkness. A city with no rule, no hope and so on. But well, it wasn't so bad, really. When I was living there, I liked to sit and relax at the rooftops and take a break with some cigarettes. Although there were so many electronic wastes and antennas, the air was light and breezy compared with the air downstairs. I still remember it very clearly. Kids also like to play or do their homework in the rooftops, while sometimes their parents are also here while doing their laundry. Because it was a small settlement, I often met people who live in this area of the building. We were very familiar with each other. Also, as long as you had good relations, you won't get any trouble in this city. After I went down from the rooftop, I always passed this saloon. Sometimes I went there with my wife. The owner, Mr. Hoshi Kim, is a good friend of mine. He always worked with his wife at the saloon. Unfortunately, I haven't seen him again since the demolition. Hopefully, he is doing good now. Beside the saloon was Mrs. Liu Yi with her in-law daughter. Mrs. Liu Yi was one of the seniors here. She has a son that I met a couple of times. I heard that he was working in Hong Kong while Mrs. Liu Yi and his wife live here because of the cheap price. My apartment was also the same kind of hers. And I admit, it was not the best apartment to live, but it was clean and comfortable. On the lower floor lives Mr. Choi and his whole family. Sometimes I met with him and his 2 children at the rooftop. They are a cheerful family with well-mannered kids. One thing that I always remember is that her daughter likes to bring her flute to the rooftop and play it. Next to it was a brothel. I think it was one of the remaining brothels back from the 70s, before I got in. From what I heard, this city was once controlled by Chinese mafia. There were many prostitution, drugstore and gambling. Even the police from Hong Kong were too scared to go to Kowloon. But thankfully, the era was over. Below this floor was a kindergarten. I didn't really know who built it, But apparently there were many non-profit organizations that build schools for children in Kowloon. They teach the kids basic skills like how to read, write, and many more. They even get free books from donations outside the city. The school was one of the things that I didn't know existed in Kowloon. And next to it was a grocery store. Mr. Liu Bang was the owner, and he was known by everyone around the residence. I always got there to buy cigarettes and spent some time talking with him. Mr. Huang opened the store in 1965 and always liked how easy you get to make a business here in Walled City, because no one needed any license and the rent was cheap. Unfortunately, he passed away due to some illness in 2001. I remember attending his funeral. He was a good man. The lower level was a small industry and a dentist shop. It was the industry where many immigrants from China worked. As far as I know, their jobs were taking out the electronic parts that can be recycled, such as the wires, to produce new electronic devices. Then they sold it with a cheaper price. Beside this industry was a dentist shop owned by Mr. Wang Qunma, one of the dentists. One of the false claims from outsiders was many of them were unlicensed dentists. But I can tell it's not true. Doctors, dentists, and other accredited professionals, like Mr. Wang, who emigrated from China, found that their licenses were not valid in Hong Kong. So they took up offices in the Walled City. Besides, I often saw labor workers from Hong Kong come to the dentists here. Then the lowest level, or the first floors, was where the markets were. Surprisingly, Kowloon was a major manufacturing center for many businesses in Hong Kong, with a cheap price for rent, and no law that forbids it. It was indeed a heaven for many businessmen, including myself. It also gave advantage to open a butcher shop here, because you didn't need any sanitary license. And there it is, my restaurant, just right beside the butcher shop. I opened it 4 years after I came to Kowloon, and since then, it has been a favorite spot for Hong Kongers to come and eat our signature dog meat stew, a dish that is unfortunately for them, is banned in Hong Kong. After remembering all of that, I always realized that time, indeed, feels past. Now, I sit exactly where Kowloon Walled City was after 25 years have passed. Since the demolition of Kowloon in 1993 to become a park. I admit, sometimes I miss the times when I was there. Like the afternoon at the rooftop. The people who were there. The humid air. And the dim lights at night. It always reminds me that something antique doesn't seem to be that old in our memories.